Hey folks, and welcome back to another one of my Facebook Lives. I'm Brendan from Bluelight, and I'm going live today because earlier on I did an amazing one-to-one with one of my clients who's preparing for his resit for a final interview for a police force. This is where he got through the online assessment centre, he got through everything, and then he crashed and burnt at the final interview. In his own words, I got overconfident. I nailed the online assessment centre. This individual was on one of my online courses with the webinars. They were so confident. They achieved so much, got a really high mark, went for the final interview, crashed. Feedback was something like, and I'm reading off my notes here that I made today, failed, the content was good, they liked him, but the answers needed more depth, more detail. And this is so common. It drives me crazy when I hear that people have failed because they've not added enough depth and detail. Now, what happens in these final interviews is, in this particular case, it was a sergeant and someone from HR. After speaking to this individual and working with them, I'm absolutely convinced that the sergeant would have been there thinking, this person's perfect. They've got life experience, they come across well, I can nudge them a little bit and try and get them to raise the quality of their answer, but they're restricted from doing so. They can only ask so many questions, otherwise it becomes unfair to other candidates. So if they tried, there would have been the HR person sort of kicking them under the table to say, shut up. And I'm quite sure as this individual walked out the door, the sergeant was saying, do you know, perhaps there wasn't enough depth there, but I think he'd be great. And the HR person would have been saying, yeah, but they just didn't score high enough, so we can't let them through. So what I do is I do a little diagnostic with them, and I'm not going to divulge which force or who it is, and I'm going to keep things sufficiently vague so that you'd never find out who this person is. But I want to share some of the learning because it's just awesome learning from today. And one of the things that my client reflected upon was how at the end of every question, when he'd given his answer, not his full answer, because there was a lot more he could have shared, they said to him, are you happy to move on? Are you happy to move on? What that really means, folks, is that you've got more to tell us, so share more. Are you happy to move on? Actually, no, I'd like to add a little bit more to that answer if I can. Okay, go on. And he had time as well. The interview was set for between 45 minutes and an hour, and it took just 30 minutes. Depth and detail, depth and detail. Are you happy to move on? No, I'm not. I want to tell you more. I want to share more. I want to open up my heart. I want to open up my soul to you and share with you why I'm going to be an awesome police officer. And so I do a little diagnostic with individuals just to get a feel for, right, well, if they said there wasn't enough depth, wasn't enough detail, what do they mean by that? And so we tried the why do you want to be a police officer question. Excuse me for I'm looking down at my notes. These are real live notes from a real live person. There's absolute gold in this book, by the way. This book is gold dust. It really is. The content and the learning in here. So I know what the other questions are going to be for the force that they're applying for. I know what they are anyway, but he sort of refreshed my memory. Right, so the two things. First of all, my client said, I've listened to your videos where you talk about a timeline and the point where you get inspired, and there's nothing like that in my life. There wasn't a certain point where I got inspired. And then one of the first things they talk about is work experience with this particular force whilst they were at school. That's the moment. And what was the moment just before that? What inspired you to do work experience with that force? But the individual lost the opportunity to add depth and detail because they just said things like, it was really interesting, I really admired the officer who helped me, it really resonated with me, I could really see myself in this position. You get where I'm coming from here. It's just not detailed enough, is it? It's just too vague. Whereas this is a golden opportunity to talk about what specifically inspired you. This really, really will set off your answer. There's a lot more stuff as well. But right at the very end, I'll go right to the very end of the answer. It talked about, and actually they even said, and I know this is going to sound cliched, but I want to give something back. I want to help others. I want to help the area I live in. I think I get a great deal of satisfaction on having a positive impact on people's lives. I'd like to pursue this as a career. This is what I'm passionate about. Yeah. You see why there's no depth? You see why there's no detail? Just a few minutes later, I would have forgotten all of that, which is why I made notes, because it's important that I make notes so I can feed it back to this individual. They even said, I'm just circling it now, I know this is a cliche. And then they went on to give a load of cliches. Do you think that's going to impress him? I mean, my daughter, she's 13. I could teach her to say things like, I'd like to give something back. Well, actually, do you know, I wouldn't even have to teach her, because she's doing that already. She's a scout, she does community work, she does volunteering within the school, she's done international aid volunteering. Yes, she's 13. She's raised money for all sorts of different charities. Yes, she's 13. So she could describe all of that in detail, couldn't she? And that would give a brilliant example of how she wanted to actually put something back into the community. So they finished there, and I just thought, you know, I bet there's more to this individual. So basically, I gave him the equivalent of, are you happy to move on? So I asked him, so that's great that you want to give something back to the community. What have you done so far? Oh my goodness. He came out with a load of volunteering stuff. Came out with a load of detailed community-focused volunteering, where he's had to make difficult decisions to help organisations and individuals within his community. I'm not going to say what the position was, but it was an absolutely awesome one. So there's a brilliant way to end. You see where I'm coming from about the detail, folks. The detail, the depth. Don't come out with all of these cliches. They're not going to help you. This individual then went on to describe the sort of work that they're doing already, volunteering in the community. And then I asked him, so how did it make you feel? Great, he said. Great. My breakfast was great. My cup of coffee this morning was great. So I asked him again, I'd like you to imagine going back to that time. Go back to that time. A time when you really helped support individuals within your community. Just go back to that time now. Just relive it. See what you saw. Hear what you heard. Feel what you felt. And he was there. I could tell from his facial expression he was back there. And he talked about, these are the quotes, the impact he had, the fulfillment in his life. How his heartstrings were pulled. There's no feeling like it. Gave him a sense of pride and purpose. And if only I could do this on a day-to-day basis, then I know I'd have purpose in my life and fulfillment. Boom, that was it. And this is why I want to be a police officer. He didn't say that, but if he rounded it off, and this is another reason why I want to be a police officer. As opposed to cliche, 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 and even starting it off with, I know this is a cliche. So folks, there's some of the learning. I mean, oh my goodness, I love doing these one-to-ones. I was so inspired this morning because this individual has got so much to offer. The mistake that they've made, self-admitted, is they've read the books. They've read the books out there which tell you how to be a police officer. They've read the books that tell you to use phrases from the competency and values framework. No, just no. Where the sample answers, I've got to say, because I've bought these books, I've got to say the sample answers are so devoid of detail and depth, you could only fail. But this individual read those books and they were heartened by the fact that, oh, my answer's like that one. Actually, my answer's more detailed than that. Feedback, I'm sorry, your answers weren't detailed or in-depth enough. On the subject of books, here's my shameless plug. If you want a book, oh, it's all back to front for you, isn't it? Because you're watching this on a Facebook Live. How to succeed in the police recruitment process, even when you don't know where to start with your preparation. This, 209 pages, no cliches. This is over a quarter of a century's worth of guidance and advice about what works in the police sector from someone who's actually been in the police. Someone who's actually been in the police for 3 decades, who's been coaching and supporting people in the police sector for over a quarter of a century, who's specifically been focusing on supporting people in the police recruitment process for over a decade, and not other things. I don't train people to be lifeguards or airline pilots or RAF officers. How to become a police officer. I often hear the insider's guide. Who are these insiders? I'm the insider. I still am, still working with police forces. At the moment, I'm in the Deputy Commissioner's working group for recruitment of from the black community and retention from the black community of the Metropolitan Police. So I still do work with police forces. I am the insider. So anyway, shameless plug. Get the book. Yay, go to Amazon, get the book. Anyway, how are you all? I hope you enjoyed that. I mean, I was so inspired this morning by this individual. So inspired. Let's do some shout outs. I've got to go soon actually, because in just over 10 minutes I'm running Stage 2 Online Assessment Centre course 28 of 2021. Stage 2 interview practice, which will be awesome. Let's do some shout outs. JJ Ridge is watching. Parisa, yay! Parisa, big up to Parisa. Parisa, well done. Awesome, awesome job on your success start date. You got there in the end. Brilliant. So pleased for you. Barry and Will. Jan, Steve saying lesson learned then, maybe. Yeah, and I've shared the lesson. I love to share these lessons with you. Mark's watching. Helen, good evening to you. Michael, Tracy, Nyron, Matthew, Andy, Aisha, Jean-Paul, Dom, Lauren, with 2 L's. You're so good, they gave you 2 L's. Amy and Paul Bootlace. I love that name, Paul Bootlace. How are you, Paul? David, Steve, Ian, Janice. Oh my goodness, there's so many of you watching. It's awesome to have you all on board. Anne-Louise, Keith, Matt, Mitch, great to have you all on board. Have you got any questions? Lauren's just joined us as well. Have you got any questions? I'm just looking at the time now. I've got about 10 minutes to go before I spend 2 hours practicing Stage 2 Online Assessment Centre skills. Oh my goodness, we're going to have such an interesting time. Such an interesting time. I say interesting because I know people are going to fall into the cliche zone. They're not going to give me enough detail. There's going to be a lack of structure. Actually, let's do a little challenge. Why don't I write down here my 3 predictions as to what's going to be missing tonight. My predictions. 3 things that will be missing in everyone's interview answers. And I'll perhaps do another Facebook Live tomorrow, shall I? And let you know whether this happened. Detail, structure, and how. There'll be a lack of detail about the incident, a lack of detail about the impact, a lack of detail about the learning, a lack of detail about how it made you feel. There'll be a lack of structure in the answers, and there will be a lack of how. So in describing what you did, I approached the person calmly and professionally. I listened to them empathetically. I worked collaboratively with my fellow team members. All nonsense until you explain how you did those things. So there'll be a lack of how as well. My three predictions. How can I predict? I'm going to make so certain that that's going to happen, that these are the 3 big issues that are going to crop up. Because they crop up all the time, folks. And that's why I'm here, to help you with your practice. Charlie, Lucy, Casey, Kelly, Anthony joined us. Keith is saying, I've got my final interview tomorrow with Hertfordshire. Well, nervous. Well, it's good to have a little bit of nerves, you know, give you a bit of an edge. Remember what I've just talked about tonight. Depth and detail, depth and detail, depth and detail. If you're on one of my courses, Keith, you've got all of what you need. You've got all the tools you need. So any other questions, folks, before I shoot off? Any other questions? Just type them into the comments box. I'll be delighted to answer them for you. I'm hoping that you're all part of the Bluelight Facebook group. If you're not, then you can just search for it in groups. It's and I'll put a link in the comments below later on, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or wherever. It's live on Facebook in a moment, on the Facebook Bluelight page. So awesome. Thank you for coming to join me. Any questions, do let me know. I will put a video of this recording out there on YouTube and places like that. And if you want to search for the group, it's an awesome group though, isn't it? If you're in the group, give me some loves and likes. If you're in the group, put something in the comments to let others know what the group is like. It's awesome. I'm saying it's awesome, but I set it up. So 4 years ago I set it up. It's now got over 17,000 members. It's a police recruitment group. So if you're not in it, search under Facebook groups for Bluelight and Police Recruitment and you'll find it. Valerie's just joined us, so I'm about to go. Valerie, unless anyone's got any questions, you can keep me here by asking questions. Otherwise, I shall just thank you for joining me this evening on this Facebook Live. And I hope the learning has been valuable to you. Shabazz is just joining as well. I'm very sorry, Shabazz, we're about to go, but a recording of this will be available. The group is class to see how everyone is getting on, says Mitch. Thank you, Mitch. That's awesome. It is nice, isn't it? You just get this feeling that you're not on your own in the recruitment process. Oh, on that, by the way, stay here for a moment. Stay here for a moment. I've got to just update you for 5 minutes on something that's really important in terms of police recruitment and the numbers. All right, this is really important in terms of the numbers. So just hang on for a moment. Any more comments about the Facebook group, please do put them in. But one announcement, and I'm going to do another Facebook Live, and I'll do some more stuff around this. Okay, so the uplift figures came out yesterday from the Home Office. Another 11,000 plus police officers have been recruited as part of the 20,000 uplift. So that's just under 9,000 to go by March 2023. You might be thinking, ooh, that's a lot. It's 9,000 above and beyond what the police would ordinarily recruit. So ordinarily they would recruit about 8,000, 9,000 a year. At the moment, because of the uplift, which is the 20,000 uplift, to take us back to where we were 12 years ago, when the police service had over 140,000 police officers, and now down to about 131, something like that. So they've got about 9,000 to go. They've got to achieve that by March 2023. You may think that's a while off, but if we think about it, that's about 15,000 police officers a year, which meant that it's been good for all of you over the past couple of years to join, because there's not been as much competition. I remember the competitive days when police forces like Cambridgeshire were raising the Search Assessment Centre result that you had to get to pass from 50 up to 83%. 83% you had to get to the next stage. That's massive. A lot of forces were doing that. A lot of forces would raise the bar full stop just to 60% from 50%. That's going to come back. It's going to come back. Why do I know that? Well, because when the uplift finishes, forces will then go back down to recruiting 8,000 to 9,000 a year across England and Wales. Can't speak for Scotland or Northern Ireland. And if Richie Sunak has got anything to do with it, I think he'll put the squeeze on the police, and they'll have to cut back on recruitment because he's going to ask for some money back. He's going to say, hey, you've had the glory days, I've bumped you up to 140,000. You find the money now to do recruitment. You find it. So I think a few forces are going to feel a pinch for a couple of years. Even if they don't feel a pinch, it's only 8,000 to 9,000 officers a year, when something like over 120,000 people apply to join the police every year. Do the math. It's going to get competitive. And you're thinking March 2023 is a long way off. It's not, because, reason being is because March 2023 is what, about 16, 18 months away, something like that. But it takes about that long to get in. So people are already being given in some forces start dates of October 2022, November 2022. It won't be long before 2023 start dates are being handed out. So if you're applying now, you're probably going to be the last of the uplift officers. If you apply in the future, you're going to be finding yourself in a more competitive market. If you fail at any stage, you've got to wait 6 months before you can reapply. You are definitely going to find yourself in a more competitive process. So folks, it's really important now that you work hard, really, really hard, and practice, practice, practice. Keith's saying, yeah, but taking into account retirement and other matters. I've already done that, Keith. I know I've number crunched these numbers. over the past 3-4 years. I've been crunching these numbers for over a decade now. Retirement and leavers is around 8 to 9,000 a year. It varies from year to year, but it's stable around 8 to 9,000. Those officers are already taken into account of in terms of the uplift. The 11,000 is over and above the 9,000 that need to be recruited to replace the 9,000 that are leaving. So I've already done that, Keith. We're going to be back down to March 2023. The police force will be down to 140,000. Up to 140,000 from about 120,000 in terms of strength. I do believe that's full-time equivalent strength, so there might be more officers, but some of them will be part-time, so it's full-time equivalent that they're using as the head count. As far as I'm aware, I'll have to check that actually, but I'm fairly sure it's full-time equivalent. But I've already taken into account that, Keith, the numbers that are leaving due to retirement. We may see more officers leaving. I suspect we may see more officers leaving because of the pressures of the role, because of the not speedy recruitment, but the haste to get people in. I just wonder how many people are actually going to be able to see it through. So let's just, oh my God, look at the time. 3 minutes time, I'm meant to be starting stage 2 practice. Let's answer some questions. Shabazz is saying, I got a question, passed my fitness test, but was told my health assessment nurse I had to lose some BMI, but I'm assigned a collar number. What do I do about this, please? Shabazz, do you want me to put this bluntly? Lose weight. There's no way around it. BMI is a very crude instrument. A lot of forces still use it. But if your BMI is over 30 and the force says it's got to be below 30, you've just got to lose weight. So cabbage soup, big walks, big runs, lose weight, move around, eat far less, crash diet yourself. I know some people have made themselves ill from doing that just to get the BMI down. Go to the medical, BMI is below 30, come out the medical and stuff yourself stupid. So there's no way around it, Shabazz. You've just got to get that BMI down. I know it might sound like a bit, am I being a bit blunt? I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is. If your BMI is over 30, one of my clients came to me, his BMI was something like 32. He did that, he did like cabbage soup and stuff like that for a month. He made himself ill. BMI went down to 29, went for his medical, passed it, went back, stuffed himself, got back up to 32 again. Let's see. Shabazz is saying you're doing Q&A soon. Just done it, Shabazz. Just done it. Oni, good evening to you. David, good evening to you. Aman, good evening to you. Shabazz, know you're more helpful than the help I've received. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for, Shabazz. Thank you. Thank you. Paul is saying it's a fair comment. Eat less, move more. Yeah, it's blunt, but I know some people have got, you know, what's it called? The way their body works. You know, they can eat less and still not lose weight. But you've got to find a way. You've got to find a way. And that's the harsh reality of BMI. Coda Kabash, what a cool name, and Dean Ox, all joining me now. Just about to go, folks. So give me I don't know, some hearts and likes. Let me know that what I've been talking about has actually been making sense. And for those of you just joining, you've just missed me talking about depth and detail in your answers. Based on live experience today of me doing some one-to-one coaching. I do one-to-one coaching just about pretty much every day. Just love it. Love it. And also some issues around the uplift, because we're going to see an end to that. It's going to get more competitive. Watch this space. Every one of my predictions, every one of them comes true. Every one of them without fail. So watch this space. It will become more competitive. Hey, I'm not getting any loves and likes. Do you not like me anymore? Oh, no. Go away and cry. No loves and likes. I know. Just been giving up a load of my time there, which I love to do anyway. But Adela's given me a smile. Well, that's good. I'll take a smile. There's a love. There's a love. There's some likes. There they are. That's when it was delayed reaction. That's what it was. It was a delayed reaction. Dean's saying, I'm a serving officer for 2 years now and can verify Brendan speaks the truth. Still love watching his videos and seeing his guidance. Awesome, Dean. I know you're part of the Serving Officers Facebook group. 2 years service, time to start thinking about what next, what next. So Dean, awesome to still have you on board as part of the cadre, the serving officers cadre. Elle, I'm just going now. Sorry you've just joined us, I'm just going. I've got to go somewhere. Cut-off point actually has to be now because there's people waiting for my Stage 2 online assessment centre practice session. I need to go and get some water. I shall catch up with you soon. Adele is saying, I got in and still follow his guidance and read all his posts. Awesome. From my heart, I thank you all. I love you all. Those of you who are serving, those of you who are about to serve as police officers. Sincerely, I love you for what you do. And if you're hoping to join the police, kudos to you. But for those of you who are serving, I love you. Lots of other members of the public love you. It's a special kind of love for people who are selfless, who put everyone else's needs before their own. I can't, for one moment, even begin to fathom what you go through, even though I served for 3 decades myself. Kudos to you. I think you're beautiful people. I shall catch up with you soon. Bye-bye for now.